J-20 Mighty Dragon. Has the J-20 ever faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? When one stealth hunter meets another, imagine, high above the vast Pacific Ocean, two stealth fighters are flying toward each other. Neither pilot can see the other. Who detects first? Who locks on first? And if the moment comes, who fires first? This is not science fiction. It is one of the biggest questions in modern air warfare. The J-20 Mighty Dragon, China's first fifth-generation stealth fighter, a combat aircraft designed to challenge America's long-held air superiority. Standing against it, the F-35 Lightning II, a stealth fighter built around information dominance, sensor fusion, and network-centric warfare. And above them both, there is another legend, the aircraft many still call the king of air dominance, the F-22 Raptor. But the question the world keeps asking is, has the J-20 ever encountered the F-35? Has it ever come close to the F-22 Raptor? And what really happened during those encounters? For years, reports have surfaced of aerial interceptions, long-range tracking, and military patrols across the Indo-Pacific. Some of those events have been officially acknowledged, others remain classified. What we know is this: these aircraft have shared the same skies. What we do not know is who detected whom, who was silently tracking the other, and who walked away with the most valuable intelligence. In this documentary, we separate facts from speculation, examine publicly available evidence, and explore one of the greatest mysteries of fifth-generation air combat. Has the J-20 Mighty Dragon really faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? Air Warfare Eagle. Mission continues. Has the J-20 ever faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? Part 2. The day America confirmed the encounter. For years, many believed the J-20 Mighty Dragon was still catching up to Western stealth fighters. Some even dismissed it as nothing more than a political symbol. Then, something changed. Senior officials from the United States Air Force publicly acknowledged that the F-35 had already encountered the J-20. Not in combat, not in a dogfight, but during real-world operational missions over the Indo-Pacific. These were not training exercises. These were real-world patrols, real-world surveillance, real-world military operations where both aircraft shared the same airspace. No missiles were launched, no shots were fired. Yet both sides were studying each other every second. Every radar emission, every maneuver, every communication, every flight profile, everything became intelligence. One of the most interesting remarks came from a senior U.S. Air Force commander who stated that the J-20 was being flown professionally and demonstrated a level of capability that deserved serious attention. That statement caught the attention of military analysts around the world because it signaled that Washington no longer viewed the J-20 as merely an experimental aircraft. It had become a real operational platform. Meanwhile, China remained largely silent. Very little information was officially released. No cockpit footage, no radar recordings, no tactical details. The silence itself only fueled more speculation. What exactly did the pilots see? Who detected whom first? Did either aircraft gain a tactical advantage? Those answers remain classified, but one fact is undeniable. The era of fifth-generation rivalry had already begun. Every encounter became a contest of stealth, sensors, electronic warfare, and intelligence gathering, not necessarily to destroy the opponent, but to understand them. Because in modern air warfare, knowing your enemy may be just as valuable as defeating your enemy. But there is another aircraft that stands above this rivalry. The aircraft many still consider the ultimate air superiority fighter, the legendary F-22 Raptor. Has the J-20 ever come face-to-face with America's most feared stealth fighter? And if they ever met, who would have detected whom first? The answer may surprise you.
Has the J-20 ever faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? Part 3. J-20 versus F-22, the invisible rivalry. If there is one aircraft that has dominated discussions about air superiority for nearly 2 decades, it is the F-22 Raptor, the world's first operational fifth-generation stealth fighter, designed with one mission: to dominate the skies. Long before many nations began developing stealth fighters, the F-22 had already established itself as the benchmark for air superiority. Then came China's J-20 Mighty Dragon, a fighter that immediately sparked one critical question: was China building its own answer to the F-22? Over the years, both aircraft have operated throughout the Indo-Pacific region. American F-22s have deployed to Japan, Guam, and other strategic locations. At the same time, J-20 squadrons have steadily expanded their patrols near China's eastern coastline and surrounding strategic areas. Military analysts widely believe that on several occasions, the two aircraft have operated within the same operational theater, perhaps separated by dozens of miles, perhaps even less, but close enough to observe, track, and evaluate one another. To this day, however, there is no publicly verified evidence that the J-20 and the F-22 have engaged in actual air combat. No missile exchanges, no dogfights, no confirmed combat encounter. Yet every patrol, every interception, and every deployment serves another purpose: gathering intelligence, studying tactics, understanding capabilities, learning weaknesses. Modern air warfare is no longer just about shooting down an enemy aircraft. It is about collecting information long before the first shot is ever fired. Every radar signature, every flight pattern, every electronic emission, every maneuver, each one becomes a valuable piece of military intelligence. This is why the rivalry between the J-20 and the F-22 remains one of the most closely watched military competitions on Earth. Because neither side wants to reveal everything it knows, and neither side can afford to underestimate the other. But there is another challenge that extends beyond a single fighter aircraft, a challenge involving an entire alliance. Because if the J-20 ever faces the combined surveillance, air defense, and combat network of NATO and its Indo-Pacific partners, it will not be confronting just one aircraft. It will be confronting an entire system. How would the J-20 perform against the world's largest integrated air combat network? That is where our story continues.
Has the J-20
ever faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? Part 4. When the J-20 faces NATO. Modern air warfare is no longer fought by a single fighter aircraft. It is fought by an entire network. That means, if the J-20 ever enters a major conflict, its opponent may not simply be an F-22 or an F-35. It could be the combined air combat network of the United States and its allies. Imagine a battlefield where satellites are watching from orbit, AWACS aircraft are scanning hundreds of miles ahead, ground-based radars are tracking every movement, and naval destroyers are feeding real-time targeting data into the same network. This is how NATO and America's Indo-Pacific partners prepare for modern air combat. Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the United States. Together, they regularly conduct large-scale joint exercises designed to improve air superiority, missile defense, and network-centric warfare. Every aircraft becomes part of a much larger system. The F-35 was specifically designed to operate inside this environment. It can receive, share, and distribute battlefield information across multiple platforms almost instantly. In many situations, an F-35 pilot may already know what another aircraft, a warship, or an AWACS is detected before ever turning on its own radar. China understands this challenge. That is why the People's Liberation Army has invested heavily in airborne early warning aircraft, long-range radar systems, space-based surveillance, advanced data links, and integrated command networks. The goal is clear: to build its own modern combat ecosystem capable of supporting the J-20 throughout future conflicts. This is no longer a contest between one stealth fighter and another. It is a competition between military systems, between industrial power, between technological innovation, and between two different visions of future warfare. Military analysts agree that whichever side can collect, process, and distribute information faster will likely hold the decisive advantage. Yet, despite years of patrols, interceptions, and military deployments, the world has never witnessed a confirmed combat engagement between the J-20 and NATO aircraft. And perhaps everyone hopes it stays that way. Because if that day ever arrives, the consequences would extend far beyond the skies above the Pacific. It would reshape global security, military doctrine, and the balance of power for decades to come. But after examining the evidence, the encounters, and the technology, one final question remains. Has the J-20 already become a true peer competitor to America's fifth-generation fighters? Or is its greatest test still waiting in the future? The final verdict is coming next.
Has the J-20 ever faced the F-35 and the F-22 Raptor? Final verdict. After examining the aircraft, the technology, the confirmed encounters, and the publicly available evidence, one conclusion becomes clear. The J-20 Mighty Dragon is no longer an experimental project. It is no longer a prototype. It is now an operational fifth-generation fighter that has become a permanent part of China's growing air power. At the same time, there is still no publicly verified evidence that the J-20 has ever fought the F-35 or the F-22 Raptor in actual air combat. No missiles exchanged, no confirmed dogfight, no battlefield victory for either side. What has happened are aerial encounters, strategic patrols, interceptions, and intelligence collection missions. And in modern warfare, sometimes learning about your opponent is just as valuable as defeating them. Every encounter allows both sides to study radar signatures, flight characteristics, electronic emissions, and tactical behavior. Each mission adds another piece to a much larger intelligence picture. So, has the J-20 become a serious competitor to America's fifth-generation fighters? The answer is yes, it has become an aircraft that every major air force must take seriously. But has it proven to be superior to the F-22 or the F-35? Based on publicly available evidence, the answer remains unknown. Because until a real combat engagement is documented, every comparison will continue to rely on analysis, technology, and informed assessment rather than battlefield proof. One thing, however, is absolutely certain. The race for air superiority is far from over. As the world watches the rivalry between the F-22, the F-35, the Su-57, and the J-20, a new generation is already emerging. America's Next Generation Air Dominance Program, NGAD. A sixth-generation fighter designed to redefine the future of aerial warfare. Artificial intelligence, manned-unmanned teaming, hypersonic weapons, adaptive engines, and battlefield networking beyond anything seen before. Could NGAD make today's fifth-generation fighters obsolete? Will the J-20 be ready to face America's next-generation air dominance platform? Or will China unveil its own sixth-generation fighter before the world expects? The next chapter of air warfare has already begun. Join us in the next episode of Air Warfare, Eagle A ATA, and Eagle War Machine, Eagle X ATA. NGAD, America's sixth-generation fighter. The future of air superiority or the beginning of a new arms race. Mission continues.